We cannot be empowered in all areas equally throughout our lives. The moment you give birth to your first child, with that child, you give birth to guilt as well. How empowered do they perceive themselves to be? They can conquer their guilt if they go and look how it's serving not only themselves, but their family members as well.
In what contexts? Where are you experiencing pleasure as you've just described?
People want to be strong so that people invest in them.
What is it that I have to do in order to experience that thing?
It's difficult to understand where the pelvic floor is.
Since recording this episode, Ilze has actually been diagnosed with stage 4 gallbladder cancer. So my wishes go out to her as she takes on this battle. And she's made the decision to share her journey in an attempt to share wisdom and cast a light on handling such big challenges. So please head over to her page and support and follow her on her journey. Once again, Ilze, I just want to send you my love, and we are absolutely behind you and supporting you through this journey. So let's get into the episode now. Hello, Ilze. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so looking forward to having you on the show and hearing your insights around empowerment, specifically women empowerment, and how we can empower ourselves.
Great to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me to have a chat with me.
So the first question I want to ask you is, what does it mean to be an empowered individual? And as a contrast, what does it mean to be disempowered? Is it a blanket term? Are you either empowered or disempowered, or is there a gray area?
Yes, there is definitely a gray area as well, because we cannot be empowered in all areas equally throughout our lives. So when you are in a new relationship and you read about relationships and you follow blogs and you listen to podcasts and you up your game about the way that you look and you lose your weight, and if you have extra weight, you empower yourself then in relationships. But you might spend so much money in getting yourself to look beautiful and have the nails done and the hair done that you are become more gray area in the empowerment of yourself financially. So an empowered person is one that strives to empower herself, himself in all the different areas of life, but do it with the knowing that what is of highest importance and priority to you will always be the areas where you are at that phase of your life more empowered in. So I know of people that will choose a theme and say, this year, my theme of empowerment is physical. So I'm going to get back to my physical exercise. I'm going to up my game about the way that I look. I'm going to get back to healthy eating. And the theme of empowerment for the year is physical. Then the next year they choose another theme where they obviously perceive that they're more disempowered. But I think a wise person looks at herself and himself and say, my desire is that I choose the end result of being the best version of myself, and therefore I want to really work towards my empowerment in all the different areas of life, and especially the areas of life that is of high importance to me.
So what is usually the first step that you take? I believe that you work with a lot of people in this area, helping people to become more empowered. So what is the first step that you usually take when working with clients and trying to help them to level up and become more empowered?
Well, the first step is usually for me, I want to know, how do they perceive their own value? So when they look at themselves and they look at the value that they bring to the world, to whether it's loved ones close by or the outreach they have into their communities or even as far as into the world, what they perceive their value proposition is, because it helps me to also then determine how empowered do they perceive themselves to be. I also will, as a very regular exercise, I will do the value determination with them of Dr. John DeMartini. I think it's an absolute amazing 13 questions process where you can actually then also determine what is of highest priority, value, and importance to you, and to see in relation to the other areas of life, how empowered am I in my highest priorities, and which are my areas that I actually think I want to up my game in. And very often, Taz, people want to up their game financially. Financially is I would say about 80% the one that most people say, I need to really up my game there. Then definitely a second one that comes quite close by is physical. And relationships very often show up as well. But it all depends on what is a void in the person's life, what they perceive is missing, and where they have not achieved what they want to achieve at that stage of their lives.
Okay, so you're talking about really zoning in on your own priorities when working to become more empowered. And I have done this value determination that you talk about. And something that I've seen that happens often is we get so bogged down by what we think the right answer should be, what we think this should be important in our lives, but maybe it's not really important. Maybe we're judging ourselves. So sometimes we're not fully honest with what is most important in our lives. Have you noticed this, and how do you get around this?
So I have been a psychologist for 42 years. I think I have some insights in people's behavior. I can't read minds though, but I personally take them through it. And I check the whole time, where do you see it in your life? Where will others see that in your life, to help them to be as authentic and true to themselves as possible? We all want to give better versions of ourselves. So if I have a high priority to watch lots of Netflix during the day, I'm not going to want people to know that, because I will think, what will they think of me? So yes, people, when they do this themselves, very often do what they think it should be. Therefore, I love to do it one-on-one with a person when it's needed. I don't do it with everyone, but when it's needed, definitely.
And if somebody is going through this process on their own and they've just heard this from you for the first time about determining what is important to them, how can they, for themselves, start answering those questions and become a bit more clear on what is important without the assistance of somebody else?
Definitely to ask themselves and check that every answer they give, that they go to specific moments in their life where they can see currently, not a year ago, maybe not even 6 months ago, but currently in their present moment, where do they see it shows up in their lives physically? Or say, for instance, if they say, I am having it as a high priority to exercise, I want to know, where do you see this last week or this last month you have physically exercised? If they say, no, I haven't done any exercises last week or this last month, I say to them, that is possibly a desire, but it's not a priority. So it is to check, where is evidence of it in my life right now?
All right. And then let's take the exercise one as the example, and you've discovered, okay, actually this is more of a desire. How do we take the steps to actually make that a priority? If we really believe we want this to become more of a priority, how do we take those steps?
Well, I first want to know, why is it important to exercise for the person? Because it might be an injection of someone else's. Might be married to a man who is a mountain bike racer. He does the Josie to see, or the Epic. He's very fit. He gets up every morning at 5 o'clock to go and cycle for 2-3 hours. Weekends to cycle, and you are at home looking after the kids. And you think, I really should be exercising. So when I check with a person, why do you think exercise is important to you? And they say, because I want to also be like my husband. I will help them to see, but it's not important to you. So while he's all those hours on the bicycle, what are you busy spending your time and your energy and your effort and your focus on? What is of importance to you? And they might say, well, being there for the kids. Somebody must be there for the children. Somebody must take them to school or look after them. Then I help them see, but then that is of importance to you. And if you have to choose between exercise and being there for the kids, you will choose the kids. And that is your authentic, true self right now in your life.
And then I think following on to that, I want to take another side of that question. What if you are, because maybe let's say looking after the kids is something that's kind of a stereotypical motherly or woman's job. Okay, I know it's a stereotype. I know I'm generalizing. And so what about those women who maybe career is actually the most important thing to them? Maybe they're feeling some guilt around that. Maybe they feel they're not giving their family life enough time and attention. They're letting themselves down. And actually they find themselves much more committed to career. How do, as a woman, and again, I am generalizing here, but how do we start working through those sorts of feelings of maybe a bit of guilt? How do we deal with that?
So I've said this to many, many, many moms. The moment you give birth to your first child, with that child, you give birth to guilt as well. You are going to fight guilt about not being there for your kids, not being a good enough mother, enjoying work more, if that is what is of importance to you. And to know that you have to be, not have to, it's your birthright to be true to yourself. And not every woman is a natural mom. If you choose to rather be a career woman, I personally chose to put my career, my practice as a psychologist above staying at home with the kids. I think I would have been bored to death, and my kids would have ended up really disliking me. And the way I dealt with that is to see how this was serving my children when I was dedicating myself to building a successful career and creating financial well-being for us, because I was, for a big part of my life, a single mom. When I just reminded myself how it's serving my children and what independence and self-reliance it is helping them as well, and what opportunities it's actually giving them in life, I really didn't want to change anything. And I help them to see it as well. So I know kids don't always will be catching on, oh, it helps you to go to a private school. They would think it's their birthright to go to private school, but to rather help them to see those privileges that they have, that they can only have when the mom is providing. I must say it as my own daughter is now in her mid-30s. She's a very professional, driven, successful entrepreneur. She's got two little daughters herself, my granddaughters, almost 4 and almost 1 year old. And she often would say to me, "You were my role model, Mom, and that is why I with ease can do this now. I rather pay childcare to look after the children during the day so that I can do what I love. And through that, I bring my service out to a far bigger community than just my own family." And it's really, I encourage women when they battle with that, but that they understand that they can conquer their guilt if they go and look how it's serving not only themselves, but their family members as well. Equally for the mom who says, "I should be working, shouldn't be home." I found equal amount of moms in my early days of being a psychologist battling with this, and the same for them. How's it serving your family and yourself if you are true to yourself?
And I guess we've taken two probably quite common scenarios here, either a woman who dedicates herself to her family or a woman who dedicates herself to a career. But then probably important to also note that within that, there's a whole lot of other things which a woman could want to dedicate her life to. It could be your fitness, it could be social leadership. There are so many other things. And what you are saying here applies to all of those different areas. And so I'm getting that you're saying you can go and look and see how by you dedicating your life to what is truly most important to you, it's benefiting your family or the people who you feel it might not be benefiting.
It is applicable. I just use these two examples, but it is equally applicable to any area of your life. If you are the woman who is the accomplished mountain bike rider, and you are putting in those hours, to look at the same. It is, we must be true to ourselves. We have to follow up what is of importance to us, what really brings you joy, and to see when you do that, how that is serving those around you, and of course how it's serving yourself.
I think that is something that maybe trips some people up. They feel that if you are pursuing what is most important to you, rather than trying to be of more service to someone else naturally, they feel that that's selfish maybe, and maybe that's a negatively loaded term or feeling for them. So how do we further, I'm just getting a little bit deeper into this, but how do we get around that?
Well, when I am choosing to be true to what is of importance to me, and I think that it is costing those around me a loss and no gains. And I think that those around me only have the negative consequences of it and no positive consequences of it. I'm looking very lopsided. So I'm teaching the people that I'm working with to learn to have a mental mind model. And if you have a mental mind model, you can take anything to that mental mind model, and you have a foundation how you can manage your life, how you can solve challenges, problems, make decisions. I've learned from Charlie Munger, who is currently 97 years old and still impacting on the world. When I was in one of his, I was at the Berkshire Hathaway AGM and shareholders meeting in Omaha a couple of years ago before COVID started. And he was talking about, we were 30,000 in the shareholders meeting from all over the world, but he was talking about the importance for him to have a mental mind model. And that when he has that he has shown it like this. If he has that model that he can fall back on, and that really inspired me. So I developed my own mental mind model, which I just have 3 steps of that. And when I apply that, I can take anything back into it and go and equilibrate myself, feel that I am absolutely on the way. And the first thing is, and I base that on Newton's law, his 3rd law that said for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction, which means for every positive, there is an equal and opposite negative. And for every negative, there's the equal and opposite positive. So I've taught children and grown-ups and men and women all over the world to put these glasses on their eyes, where one lens is a positive lens and one lens is a negative lens. And if you only look through the negative lens, you are so lopsided. But when you put a positive lens on as well, and you see that part of as well, you bring your mind back into balance, into your mind model of highest performance. That's the first step, is the glasses, the positive and the negative lens.
So how do we do that practically?
To just ask yourself, if I am only seeing the negative, what are the positives? Now, of course, if it is a big challenge and you are stuck with your feet in thick mud, you can't see your way out of it. you cannot see one single positive. It helps to just ask somebody, help me to see what positive there possibly might be. Because the moment you get your mind to just tick over for those gears to just get into some form of movement, it becomes easier to see it. And if it's really, really impossible to see it, it's great to ask a professional, because it will help you to get unstuck and shift yourself, that the mud becomes like drift sand, and then you find your footing on solid ground and you can thrive again.
And then I know that you mean this both ways. So I know that you also mean if you are seeing only the positives of something, you should, and this is maybe not like as popular of a mindset. People are often like geared or striving towards positivity. I think this is a very commercial thing, but I know that you are meaning to have an equilibrated mind here. So why is it important to do the opposite when you're only seeing the positives of something? Someone's going to say, why would you want to see the negatives if everything's great?
Wouldn't life be wonderful if that was how we could choose to do life? But I know one thing. My life has shown me multiple times when I only see the one side without seeing the equal and opposite other side. Newton's law, that's universal law. Something will happen that will disappoint me, humble me. I've told this story so many times. I once worked with a client, and her husband, for her 50th birthday, bought her a Mercedes sports car, beautiful red Mercedes sports car, and was parked in the garage with a ribbon around it as well. And she was in one of my programs, and she told us how she got into the car. She turned the key. She listened to this amazing sound of the engine, and she was so excited and so exuberated about this wonderful gift, and she reversed, and the garage door was still closed. So this is quite an extreme example, but if we go into too outside of a equilibrated mind, and we get too excited and too hyped up about how fabulous the thing is. I've seen it as well, when those moments when I go into that, oh, my husband is just so wonderful. I am now checking myself and seeing, I'm going to soon pick a fight with him, because our minds will all the time help us to come back into equilibrium, because the equilibrated, balanced mind is poised, it's calm, it's present, it's mindful, and it is, it's serving us the greatest. That is when we are in our executive functioning, which is in the prefrontal cortex of our minds. To see only one side takes us into our primitive brain, into our reptilian brain or our old brain, where you go into either fight, flight, or freeze. And that is not serving anyone. But when you see both sides, you actually go into your sage part of your brain, where you become the genius, the sage. You tap into your higher mind, your higher ability, and you feel the poise and the calm. Not peace, calm. You are present, very, very present. That is a very high state of being, the absolute preferred state of being.
That's beautiful. And I think that you can see this with certain high-performing individuals that we see around the world, whether it's a top CEO, a business leader, social leader, some celebrities even. You kind of see this where they, even if they're getting a lot of praise, they kind of neutralize that out, or it doesn't affect them as you would think getting such a compliment would affect someone else. You kind of see that poise within them. And it's not arrogance or it's nothing like that, but it's just this kind of balanced mindset. I've noticed that. I noticed it a lot with celebrities in interviews. Yes. They're often getting complimented, people adore them, and the really, really high performing celebrities seem to be able to stay neutral and balanced in those moments.
And when they don't, the Oscar slap happens. And I am, I'm going to watch with curiosity this humbled experience, how this person is going to go to the next level of his being, because that was a very humbling circumstance that happened there.
I think following on to what you've just said, I'm going to immediately go in and ask you, how do we bounce back from a tremendously humbling circumstance? So this is something where you've, let's say, been publicly shamed, or somehow you've been really humbled. Maybe you've lost finances. I think there's always, or often, some kind of public humiliation that goes with these big, big humblings. And how do we start coming back from something like that?
Oh, well, I always say to myself, well, go and sit under the tree, lick your wounds, go and think what you've done. And once you get up from under the tree, go and look around you. Where is support? Where's those people backing you up, standing by you? I think that I don't want to mention his name, but I know that most people know what I'm talking about. I think that he's the Oscar slap man is going to see far more support from his wife, from his family, from friends. So we bring ourselves back from those humbling circumstances by opening our eyes and see, where am I surrounded by love and support? Because yes, I have been humbled by criticism and attack and negativity, but where is that beautiful love and support around me? And to go and open your eyes for that and be grateful for that, because those people will show up, and they are usually the people that you care about the most.
Yeah. Okay. So I derailed you a little bit before. You were on step 1 of is it the mental mindset? Is that what you said?
Yes. So, my mental mind model. Yes.
Mental mind model. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is step 2?
Step 2 is just this one where I point one finger at you, 3 fingers point back at me. So what I spot in others, I got in myself. And that, when you actually become so, first of all, the negative side, you think of, you're angry, you're resentful, you're bitter, you cannot wait to change the person because you're just so upset. And when you take that finger that you point at that person, you go and see, what is it that I so point at? You go and see where you own that trait in yourself. It actually is really, it takes you from that self-righteousness, from the judgment, into a softer mindset. So the same when you admire someone and you look up to someone, and you go and look, that finger that I'm pointing at this person, what is it specifically that I'm so loving and admiring and adoring? And where is that in me? And it will be in my own unique form. It will definitely not be in that person's form. That has been so helpful for me in my life. Just to quickly equilibrate my mind, bring myself into homeostasis, into my sage. I call my executive functioning my higher mind. I call that my sage, to get back into my sage. That's a quick one to do. Even kids get that. And so I coined the phrase, what you spot, you got, to help children. And I remember my kids were still young, and I would say something to them, and they would say, "Oh, Mom, what you're spotting, where have you got it?" Mm-hmm. So, and they were young when and they got it. They so got it. So my first one is this. The second one is a pointing finger. And the third step is just this, gratitude. And I also know that my focus becomes my reality. And that's true for every human being on this planet. So when I focus on my current reality and I see all the brokenness or the pain or the challenges or the negatives in it, I struggle with low self-esteem or conflicts. And my current reality, I use the phrase, I feel I'm stuck in the mud. And I can't get out. And there's nothing I can be grateful for. But when I just shift my focus and I ask myself, but what am I grateful for in my life? And especially to be grateful for any vision that you have. And if you give the bandwidth to your current realities, I call it brokenness because it's not perfect. And you give that your bandwidth. You tune into that frequency. You focus on that. That becomes your reality. But when you focus on a vision that I have, or what I am really grateful for about my life, you move immediately out of your primitive brain, your fight, flight, or freeze, into your sage brain, and that is where you flourish. So it's an absolute amazing process to follow. You just recognize that I'm focusing again on my current reality. You take a deep breath in, you sigh out, you pause, and you choose. You choose where you want to take your focus. And it takes definite effort. It takes self-control. It takes a decision. It takes a choice. Aristotle said, it's by choice and not by chance that we reach the destiny of our lives. By choice. So for me, choices are just the most amazing opportunity that life has ever given me, my ability to have a choice. And nobody can make that choice but you yourself. And I think that's what my programs for women are about. Learning to identify their default modes that they, at the age, young formative years, here around the age of 3, 4, 5 years old, we all form our default modes, and those self-beliefs, that's negative. I'm not good enough, I'm not wanted, I'm not a priority, I'm not important, I don't belong. Well, a whole lot of nonsense that we tell ourselves, but it becomes so deeply, subconsciously entrenched in us that becomes a theme in our lives, and we don't even recognize it because it's subconscious. So once you become conscious of it, you realize that you can change the very foundation that you've been building your life on. And yes, those beliefs did serve you as well, 100%. But you can also choose to not do your life from a default mode of brokenness, but rather from a place of choice. And a choice about the vision that you have for your life, the end result choices that you have for your life. It works so beautifully. It just takes effort to learn to do it. And when you do it in a group of other women, hold each other's hands and they go through it as a tribe.
Yeah, I think that it is sometimes, it's not the easiest thing to do, to start off on that journey of self-reflection, not seeing yourself as a victim, taking charge, deciding that the questions you ask yourself make a difference, the choices you make a difference, but it's definitely worth it, and definitely a step in becoming like the most empowered version of yourself. Now, I want to take it to relationships. So how does making that commitment that you've just spoken about, committing to becoming the most empowered version of yourself, How does this help you if you are maybe looking for a partner, you feel that you cannot find the right partner, you can't get someone who maybe matches up to your standards, or the people that you do want are not interested in you, it's this common thing. How does becoming more empowered yourself help you to get the partner of your dreams?
Great question. So it reminds me, I've been the anchor psychologist of a TV series here in South Africa called Saving Our Marriage. And we had 2 seasons of 13 episodes each. The last one was in 2021. And I worked with couples in reality. And I said to the couples over and over and over, the biggest investment that you can make in your relationship is investing in yourself, growing yourself, becoming the best version of yourself. Because if you bring that best part of yourself to the relationship, you will attract what you believe you deserve. You will attract what you believe your right is in life. And if you are in a relationship that is not doing that for you, then make a choice. Is it worth it to stay in the relationship? Does it bring out the very best in yourself? So lots of single, successful women ask me, how do I attract that man? How do I find that man? I don't want to go onto a dating app. I don't want to go and meet him in a bar. I don't want to meet a man in a bar and that becomes my life partner. And I help them to know and see and own the value that they will bring to a relationship and what it is that they are looking for in a relationship, in a man, in the opposite sex, in whatever. So if they, it doesn't matter, in the other person, the other significant person, not to have any fantasies of any perfection and that person is just going to be the absolute most amazing human being, but know what you want. Know what you want, because your reticular activating system sends out frequencies about your thoughts, your feelings, your wishes, your dreams, your goals. And through resonance, those frequencies will come together. And that is how you attract that life partner that you wish to have. But it starts with you. Become the best version of yourself. And remember, nobody is the best version of themselves all the time. You have moments. There are moments that I'm the very worst version of myself. Mm-hmm. You can ask my family. But then I dust myself off, pick myself up again, go and sit under the tree and think and feel sorry for myself and get up again and apply my own mental mind model. But that is how you attract the person that you desire to have. Grow yourself, invest in yourself, become the best version of yourself, and know what you want. Know what you want. No fantasies.
That's so great. And I think also being honestly doing the work for yourself, not saying, okay, I'm going to work on myself to find the partner, if that makes sense. But maybe just really committing to becoming the best version of yourself. And then sometimes actually the partner that you thought was the partner of your dreams might even change, or maybe you feel you don't need that partner at that stage of your life. So just really committing to actually doing the work for yourself, on yourself. And then it's sort of a 2-part question. Then I want to take it to when we are in the relationship. And sometimes we feel as women, we might feel that we are losing our power in a way, we're losing empowerment. Now, this could either be in a relationship, this could be in our careers, this could be however, sometimes, as you just said, you're not always the most empowered version of yourself. You're not always your best self. So how do we deal with this without getting super stressed, super desperate, maybe, either within a relationship or maybe in a work environment? You feel like you're not getting the promotion, or maybe you're losing your youth, you're not earning what you wanted to be earning at this point, maybe you're even earning less. How do we navigate those times when we're feeling unempowered? Because I feel like sometimes when we get into that desperation, we don't act well, we don't make good decisions.
Once again, it takes me back to, if I don't, for instance, get the promotion, I'm not earning what I want, I don't have the relationship that I want, it is because, first of all, if you do not value yourself, the world's not going to value you. And it is a deep intrinsic knowing of what value do I bring to this world, what values that I bring my employer or my own business or my clients, my customers, what values am I bringing to a life partner. When you own that, you own it with a deep knowing from your sage, your higher mind, your genius mind. When you write it down and you remind yourself of that often, and you rewrite it when you start to feel you are going down the slippery slide again. Whenever you feel yourself less than, you are here, it is time for you to go and own your value. And what I recommend, and I do this often with my clients, I do it myself as well, I will take a pen and paper and I will go and write down the value I bring to the world or my workplace or my clients or my husband or my family or a friend in all the areas of life. And I go and write it down. And you feel as you write it down how your mind is starting to become quieter. You become more balanced. There's a silence that comes in you. And there's also a knowing, I have value. And I bring value to the world. When you don't get that promotion, it's a positive feedback to you that somewhere you have not owned your value that would give you that promotion. There can also be another reason why you don't get that promotion. There might be a subconscious strategy that you're busy working out with to go and look for another job because you're fed up with the job. So there are many different reasons.
Okay, so actually becoming more analytical on why this is happening rather than from a victim point of view, why is this happening to me, but rather actually looking at how is this helping me to get to where I want to be, how's this potentially helping me. And then I love the idea, the exercise that you said about writing down where you bring value. I feel like this is something that we should all do. Where do I bring value in my relationship, in my workspace, to my social circles? Just because this is really going to help us to level up and actually start playing on a whole new level.
100%, Taz. It's a gift you give yourself, and then you extend that gift out to those around you.
I really love that, and I hope our listeners and viewers will go and do that exercise because I think it will be very rewarding. Yeah. So my final question for you that I ask all my guests is, what does it take to start living a world-class life?
Great question. It's first of all to have the vision to have a world-class life. What does it mean to every individual? For some, it can look at Elon Musk. He has a world-class vision that is galactic. Very few people have that, but it's to know, what is my vision for my life? How do I want to make a difference with my life in whatever form that is? How do I want to expose myself to world-class learning? How do I get in a connection with world-class people? Because I want to rub shoulders with the people who's already arrived there. It's to make use of opportunities, see the opportunities. But you know what, Taz? It is first of all a burning desire. You know, Napoleon Hill said, have a burning desire. To have a burning desire, to have a world-class life. And take daily action steps to the achievement of that great goal.
Thank you. It has been so lovely to chat to you, and I hope that our guests find it as valuable as I did. And then lastly, I just want to wrap up and ask you, how can people connect with you? What is the best way to find you and connect?
They can Google Ilze Alberts. You'll get to many places where they can connect with me, but my website is Ilzes, I-L-Z-E, alberts.com. Simple and easy. My website offers enough information about me.
And maybe a little bit more information on the online women's programs that you run.
My online women's program is called Turning Point. It's also on my website. Information is available there. And then that's the one that I think is, I'm launching a brand new one that's based on one that I've done live many times when I still at my psychology center, and I presented this to really hundreds and hundreds of parents, and it's called my Filial Play Therapy Training for Parents, and it's teaching parents to be a therapeutic agent in their children's lives. It is so impactful. So I decided to take it out of the mothballs again, polish it, and bring it as an online program. I'm launching that soon.
All right, that sounds beautiful. So people can connect with you via your website. I'm sure all the information to your programs are there. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. Thank you for all the value that you have shared. And maybe we will do this again sometime.
Thank you, Taz. And thank you to everyone listening.
Have a good day, and we'll chat soon. Bye-bye.